Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. It's an exciting morning for me today as the TF330 has arrived. Now, my friends and family always say that all I do is eat, drink and talk Commodore. That's complete rubbish. So I'll just get my breakfast out of the way. Stephen Leary has done it again. The guy is a legend. He's an absolute genius in my opinion. The speed with which he works his way through the design of these and the bug fixing and stuff is absolutely remarkable. Yeah, hats off to him, big time. So you can see it's marked on the top here, Terrible Fire TF330, CD32, 030, SD RAM. So this also provides 64 megabytes of SD RAM there. I can't see what make that is. Is it Texas Instruments? Or is it Alliance or something? I'll have a close up on that in a sec. We'll have a look. Yeah, Rev 2. So he has been through a few different revisions. I think he's going to end up with a Rev 3 actually, and I will need to do a modification to this because I think Stephen, he did a few videos about it recently. He pointed out that on the pinouts he was looking at for the slot here, you know, the riser connections that go to the CD32 motherboard, it was lacking one of the reset signals, or it wasn't labelled up. I think that was the case. There was no description next to one of the pin numbers. Was it pin 95? I think it was. And as a result, the reset was not connected to the right place, I think. So that if you do a soft reboot on the Amiga, you know, you go to the command line and type reboot, it reboots and you just stuck the black screen. But I think the simple fix was, and he showed this, and a few people have done it, including supaduper, you just cut a trace, I think on the top side here somewhere, I can't quite remember, and then just route a wire on the bottom side from somewhere over here, if memory serves, to somewhere down here, I think. And that then solves the problem. So there might be a few of these initial boards here, Rev 2s, that have just got that wire on. It's not a big deal. I'm quite happy to do the mod myself. I did say that when Mark Superduper was you know, had this in the post to me, because he'd sent it out and then we realised the issue with the reset and he was a bit concerned, and I said, oh, don't worry about it. Worst case, I was prepared to remove the chips from this and put them on a new board. It would have been a bit painful removing that socket. I could have just put a new socket on another board, but yeah, I could have done that with some hot air. It would be a good experience. I've ordered myself a Xilinx programmer actually, after speaking to Mark, and I'll have a go at updating this, presumably if an update comes out. As things stand, nothing needs updating actually, it's flawless. I think every test that people have been doing on this have worked without any issues at all. So straight away I'd like to thank Mark actually, super duper, because the quality of the assembly here is fantastic. You know, the solder work on all of the connections and things, he's done a fantastic job, an absolutely fantastic job. It's really clean and tidy, and the board layout that Stephen's come out with here is brilliant as well. I really like it. It's amazing. I think it's a 4-layer board actually, from memory, from watching his videos there. I think he said he'd had to go to a 4-layer because obviously the speed, the idea is with this, is they're trying to get it up to 50 megahertz. In fact, that's what this is running at now. It's got an MC68 EC030 RP. Now the EC was the cost reduced version, I think. So I think this one's, is it ceramic or plastic? It looks like plastic actually to me. But this was the cost reduced one. I think in theory it would support a full 030, you know, not the EC variant there. And the MMU is built into the full one. The cost reduced version like this has not got the MMU, and I think that should just work. As far as I understand, I don't think any changes to the CPLD would be required. I think the MMU is internal to this, so if you've got one, you should be able to use it. You might need to add some libraries or something into Workbench or something to make use of that. No idea, honestly, no idea. I'm out my depth. So yeah, this one's a 40 megahertz one, but this board is set to run at 50 megahertz. It's probably dictated by the crystal down here. You may be able to overclock these a little bit, maybe up to 55 megahertz. I'm not sure. I vaguely remember Stephen saying something about that, like people, you know, suggesting, yeah, you know, everyone go away and see what you can get out of it, kind of thing. If you can get more than 50, great. But you know, he's not going to support it, obviously. But the reason I think more than 50 might be an issue depends on how fast this RAM is capable of in terms of the cycles and things. Because I do know, like on the ACA 1220, for example, the type of RAM that's on there has got a limitation of 100 megahertz, I think. And you're going to have different speeds. You have the speed of the CPU, but then you've got the RAM is refreshed and stuff at a certain frequency as well. And I think on the ACA 1220, mine was tied to, those were tied to 100 when the CPU was running at 33. So if you bump the CPU up to 40, the RAM went up in speed, about that same percentage increase, if you like, and the RAM could only go at 100. You could get faster RAMs actually for the ACA 1220. That was something that did cross my mind. I could swap out the 100 megahertz chips I've got on the ACA 1220 for some that'll go, I don't know, 150 or 200 or whatever the next step up is, and in theory it would probably work on the ACA 1220. So I don't know if there's a similar limitation on here. I haven't read any, well, this is brand new really, there's hardly anybody using these at the moment, aside from Stephen and several other people that Stephen sent boards to. And they're the people that are building these, so it's still early days, but we might see slightly faster than 50 megahertz yet. So it doesn't have an FPU, but I'll be honest, I'm not going to miss it. Who really uses the FPU? It's hardly used unless you're using Lightwave or something like that. And to be honest, if you're doing 3D rendering, I wouldn't do it on an Amiga these days anyway. I'd be doing it on a PC or something. Emulate the Amiga on your PC if you need to, and run it at a ridiculous clock speed. So, if you want to use the version of Lightwave or something for the Amiga there. I think there's a version of Lightwave, I'm pretty sure there is. So yeah, coming back to the CPU, the other benefits this provides in 030 versus the 020 that you get stock on a 1200 or a CD32 is you've got the data and instruction caches as well, 256 bytes each that are on chip. So that makes a huge difference actually. The caches can really accelerate certain types of operations. As I say, you can get the 50 megahertz chip, but it'll be a gold top chip there that contains the MMU. And you've got a 32-bit address bus as well. I think maybe the 020's got a 32-bit address bus. I can't quite remember. It might be a bit shorter than 32 bits, but that's useful because you can have crazy amounts of RAM on here. Hence the 64 meg. With your original 24-bit address bus, you're limited on the original stock Amigas and things as to how much RAM you can add on there. But you can get a crazy amount of fast RAM on here. And I'm not sure that's the right way of referring to it actually as fast RAM, but it is. It's CPU, it's direct on the CPU data bus there, so things run from this RAM run a hell of a lot faster. As long as the CPU's not having to wait for resources in the system, it's just running code from the RAM on here. Things you get a massive speed increase that way as well. So the speed of the RAM is a factor on any kind of accelerator like this. If you have really slow RAM chips on here, it can limit how the benefits you get of having an 030. But on this, as you'll see in the benchmarks in a minute, it's super fast. It runs really, really, really fast. I'm really pleased with how fast this comes out on the benchmarks actually. So you've got a programming header up here for when you're using ICE with your Xilinx programmer to it's JTAG connection. Obviously the RAM chips, you've got the Xilinx CPLD here, really large fine pin pitch again on it. There's a couple of little resistor packs here, obviously a couple of caps, and then I think these are probably bus transceivers, are they? I think, yeah, because you might have some 3.3 volt stuff somewhere, perhaps on the RAM side, and then you want 5 volt on the other side. So on the underside here you can see Mark's done the same thing he did with the 328, these nice sticky things here, so that when it fits inside the bay there, you've got like a piece of metal shield in here and it'll sit on there and hold the PCB off. You've got no chance of anything short in there. It's really nice. Lots of caps and a few resistors and things I think under there. And it comes with the riser board as well, again for the back. So this is the Kipper 2K 2007 V6, and it's got the PIC chip on there with the keyboard interface, so you can connect PS/2, the old PC style keyboard there, and you've got a keyboard on your CD32 as well. It's also got the video out connection there as well, just like the 328 did. Well, it's the same riser. It might not be the same version. It's pretty much the same riser I think I showed in that 328 video. I'll make the same point I pointed out in that video, that there's no coupling or anything for the RGB signals on the riser. So I think Kipper or whoever has produced this originally, but might want to consider just doing a mod to that to add some sort of coupling or some clamping. It was the clamping I think I mentioned, because there's something Retro Game Mod said that you touch the pins here, you've got direct connection straight to the RGB that go onto the motherboard there. It may well be that there are transistors in between the red, green and blue signals. I'm not sure. I do know that when I fixed my CD32 in a previous video, we had missing colour, one of the, and that was related to the S video output, and that did go via a transistor. But I think, if memory serves, the RGB connections come straight out of Lisa or wherever. I can't remember whether there is a Lisa chip on the CD32. I think there is. Straight to here. So yeah, just be careful plugging things in there into one of these. But it's got this nice protective thing here as well. So you can't touch the backs there. You could have the chip there, but yeah, you can't interfere with the connections there and introduce some ESD. But yeah, you still need to be a little bit careful, like I say, with the things around the back there. And just like the TF328, he's got the mini IDC thing here. Your IDE interface. It's the mini smaller type, though, isn't it? I forget what they call it. But it's a 40 pin, isn't it? 40 pin IDC, but it's the smaller size. And as you can see, he's got one of these compact flash adapters here. Now, I've got my own compact flash in there at the moment. I'll show you the one he sent me with it. I'm not happy about the way it's configured, that's all, and I can't quite work out how to change the resolution properly. I found that on my TV it's displaying in interlace mode, and it looks really high res actually, and then as soon as you move the cursor around, the interlacing goes crazy, and then you stop moving the cursor and it's still, and you move the cursor and it goes crazy. I'll show you. So yeah, I'm not sure, maybe someone can post in the comments down below how to adjust it, but I found when I change the resolution, I only see like a portion of the screen. It's like some of it's missing off the bottom. So whatever version of Workbench they've got on there, it might be Classic Workbench or something, it's got a lot of plugins and all sorts, and I don't know anything about it. I don't know how it's configured, so I've gone back to my vanilla Workbench that I I'm used to using, really. So we'll have a go at fitting it now. I've removed the TF328 in advance, and then just make sure your PCB there is lined up with the edge of the socket. Push it in, there we go, that's it. And if we switch it on, one of the first things you'll notice there is the light flashing because it's booted from the hard disk. Now you'd think I would have fixed this by now, but I've got a mouse plugged in. This is the image of the hard disk I use with my 1200, so it's doing some sort of check for the floppy drive there. I forget what it was, but you can edit the startup script there just to remove that one single line or comment it out, and that doesn't happen actually. You can get rid of that. But as you can see, it booted straight onto my compact flash card there. And I've got the keyboard connected, I'll show you. Yeah, so you can see I've got my black PS2 Microsoft keyboard here, just plugged into that port there. So essentially with a setup like this, you've got all of the functionality of an Amiga 1200, but you've got the CD drive as well. So I'll show you the version of Doom that I've got on here. I think it's called A-Doom, actually. And then you compare it to the one that Mark sent me, actually, supaduper. Came on the other compact flash card, because the version he's got runs a lot better. I'm guessing it's a more recent build. It might even be targeting the 030 for some of the, to optimise some of it. It might also just be better written, I'm not sure. But this version doesn't run that great, really, considering this an 030, but it's very playable. But you'll see the difference anyway, at least. So start a new game. So I'm using the CD32 pad here, and you can see, yeah, it's an awful lot better than a straight 020, but it's just it is a bit unplayable in my mind, the standard version of A-Doom. But this is, like I say, not an optimised version. You'll see the difference in a minute. So just testing Doom Attack here, and this is on the compact flash card that came with it. I'm going to go with NTSC low res, and we'll maximise the screen size, I think, if we just hit button options. Increase the screen size. We go one below full screen. So actually, yeah, that's full screen, and you can see you've got free look actually in this particular version. How do you move forward? Let's just swap to the normal controller here. There we go. But you can see actually, apart from some tearing, obviously it's been designed to work that way to get the maximum screen refresh rate. But you can see it runs pretty well actually. I mean, look how large the screen is there, it's huge. mean, you can see some tearing going on, but yeah, I think that's to be expected. Now, bear in mind, I'm not looking straight ahead. You know, the cursor there is pointed upwards a bit because I've been using the mouse adapter. But yeah, it's totally more than playable. It runs fantastically well, actually, this version. If anything, it runs a bit too quick, actually. I would say it's going to be easier to play with a mouse, this, but as I say, I'm not sure how to control the directions at the same time as the free look. The mouse just seems to be used for the free look movement. But as you can see, that's sweet. So the other obvious one that I've been keen to try is Frontier Elite 2. Just turn it down a touch. Yeah, silky smooth. Yeah, look how much faster that is. That's insane. You're lucky if you get like 1 frame per second around that bit. Those laser beams are going, they don't normally look anything like that. Fantastic. But if we take a quick look at some benchmarks now, I'll run that one first, sysinfo. Yeah, and if we click on speed, you'll see it comes out, it's quite staggering actually, performance. If you compare down there to an A3025, it's pretty much twice as fast, which is what you'd expect. It's 50 megahertz versus 25, and you can see that over here somewhere. There you go, CPU 68030, 51.80 megahertz. Smell the rubber. And the other benchmark I always like to run is this one. So if we test the memory initially, I always like to do that memory test. You'll see it's rocketing along up there, just under the or around the 11 mark there, and we compare that to the memory speed of an A4040. It's way faster, and you can see the CPU clock speed down there, 50 megahertz as well. And it's the same thing you saw on the other benchmark software there. You can turn the instruction cache off and on when you're doing these benchmarks. But the very fact that those are all now enabled, whereas on an 020 they won't be. That's really nice. I'm guessing if I had the non-EC version, the full version with the MMU, that would be on. Let's just do an integer math. Yeah, fantastic. and again, it's almost as to be expected compared to the 3025. It's almost, well, yeah, it's pretty much double, isn't it? Which is what you'd expect. So it's kind of like upgrading your machine to an A3000 running at 50. And we've got our 64 meg of fast RAM showing free up there as well. That's fantastic. So when you're using WHD load, you know, it'll cache lots of stuff in there. So I'm just going to have a go at testing this replacement CPU I got from eBay. It was cheap, it was like £6 or something. Yeah, that's a copy, you can see that, VA Tech Japan. So super interesting because that looks pretty new to me. It's 68EC30 RP40. So yeah, you can see, you know, that's like modern 68,000. I've never seen that before. So we'll give that a try. You can see these are the tools you use with this. You should have two of them really. I've got another one somewhere. It's PGA, you know, pin grid array. And you just kind of carefully leave on one side, put it around the other side, get it all lined up, and again just lever gently. Maybe alternate a little bit around the sides there, because what you don't want to do is bend the pins here. The aim is to just carefully lift it out. I think that's out now actually. Yeah, so, oh okay, so this is one of the same ones actually. This is one of the same ones, can you see that? Yeah, it's got a different thing written on there. Like the one says VA Tech, that says Nuzak, but it says Japan on it again, and it's got the same green underside there. So these are like modern 68,000s, they're not the original ones. Anyway, we'll give that a go. It's super interesting though. Got to make sure I get pin 1 the right way around now. I'll just inspect the pins before I try and push that in, but that looks okay. So pin 1 up here. Yeah, so I just pushed that in. I did have to realign one or two of the pins actually. I was surprised, considering it's brand new. They were just a little bit bent, but we'll give this a try. Let's just see if that works. Because what I might do is I might make one of these boards up and do a giveaway or something. And as you can see, that works fine actually. So what was that, £6 or £7 I think, that CPU. Fantastic. But you know, I'm also surprised that you can get modern 68,000s here from Japan. I've got 386 there I didn't realise I had. Yeah, that's a 6802016. That was the one that was originally on my ACA 1220 actually. I scratched some of the black coating off there when I removed the heatsink because it was pretty well stuck on. But there you go, you can see, hopefully, gold top 68,000 030 RC40B, but it's not the EC model, so this should have the MMU. Now, I've never tested this. I ordered this with the intentions of fitting it onto the ACA 1220. I'm glad I didn't try that, because it would have been a fruitless exercise, because I think they're wired differently. You know, the pins do different things, I think. So, yeah, it wouldn't have worked without a firmware update, at the very least, on that other board. So I'll get it in place, pin 1's up here, and I think that's what that gold marking there indicates. And again, I might have to straighten one or two of the pins up on this, because, let's say, I have never put this in a socket before, and it doesn't feel like it's going straight in here. Well, it seems to have gone in, and it went in reasonably easy. So let's plug that in now and give that a try. Yep, that's a good sign. Cancel. We'll go into the benchmark thing. I'm just curious to see whether we can do anything with that MMU, whether we see the MMU or not. I don't think it'll affect performance or anything. Okay. Yeah, MMU status there off. How do you switch that on? Can we even do anything with the MMU in here? I don't think we can. Yeah, you can see there, I don't know if you can see at a distance, it says MMU type 68030. So yeah, I mean, it's picking up the MMU there. I just don't know how you would enable it. I don't think you've got to do it in the OS or something. Don't see anywhere in here to enable it. It just says MMU status off. So the other thing I would point out, with my gold top 40 megahertz CPU running at 50, after about an hour's use, this thing does suffer from heat problems where it starts to become a bit unstable. You know, your power cycle is alright, or if you leave it off for 10 minutes and then switch it back on, it's fine for a while again. So yeah, I'm just going to stick a heatsink onto the top there, and we'll just let that set. So, oi, come out of the way, stop licking that. So, a useful bit of information for you here. I borrowed one of these adapters actually. I took it from the 328 here, the Terrible Fire 328. So I borrowed the original adapter there for the Archimedes in a previous video. So I had that to replace, and I ordered some of these from China. I thought, can't go wrong. They're all the same. Mistake, they're not. You can see here there were 2 transistors. I removed those. Now I was getting all sorts of problems. At one point it seemed like that one of these boards was shorting out completely. The system wouldn't power up. That then caused me some interesting problems, because as I was trying to disconnect the Terrible Fire, I thought it was switched off, and then suddenly it sprang back to life as the expansion was halfway out. So I am super lucky I just did not kill, a few minutes ago, my CD32. So bear in mind, like I say, these are not all the same. And I thought it must be these transistors, because I did some checks and visual inspections, and whilst the solder paste type solder in there is crusty as anything, there are no shorts there. We have good joins. 1 or 2 of the pins on here were bent initially. I had to straighten them out in order to get the compact flash to fit. I wondered if that was the issue, but it wasn't actually, because after I'd straightened them, it fit perfectly. And it was the same with the other one. I've got 2 of these. You can see the other one here. Sorry, that's the original one that would have shipped with the Terrible Fire. Actually, you can see there is a difference. Can you see the jumpers there? It looks much better manufactured compared to this piece of junk here. Yeah, the other one is here, and as you can see, I've removed the transistors off that as well. Now, neither of these would work. I tried them multiple times, over and over. I couldn't get them to work at all. Remove the transistors. That one worked first time. Remove the transistors on that one. That one worked first time. I'm guessing the transistors are something to do with the LED over here, but they might not be. I'm not really sure what they're doing with those. It did have me a little bit concerned, but nevertheless that was the issue. So if you get one of these cheap adapters and it's got little transistors on there, I would remove them. Don't use the LED that's on here anyway. You're going to feed a wire off the Terrible Fire for your LED access, or somewhere on the back of the CD32. So I'm using the control pad here, 1-player game. Now the interesting thing is, as you can see, this is not working on my CD32. And I'm wondering if it's because there's a problem actually with this system. The Akiko may have a fault. Yeah, now I could be wrong, but it seems to me that there is a minor incompatibility here. I'll report this to Stephen, see if anybody else has spotted it, but can you see the difference here? Now what I'm doing here is I'm using the TF330, so we've still got fast RAM. I'm using the same compact flash card. The only difference is we've not got the 030 here, but you can see this is using the Akiko, and this is working. So that's super interesting. I'm curious to see if Wing Commander works with the Akiko actually this way, because with the Terrible Fire it didn't. Let me just try and boot Wing Commander up, and we'll pick the Akiko mode. And when I say Akiko mode, I'm talking about the chunky to planar stuff. So you can see we're on English there. Use CD32 pad, use Akiko C2P. Do you see that? Yeah, there's a lot of sunlight on that. Anyway, let's just do play. And let's just see if this works. Now, I tried this before. I don't know whether I captured it, but we were just getting like little lines, it's like it was missing lots of scan lines, like 1 out of every, 16 scan lines. That's working, I think. So I would suggest that, just for the moment, there's some sort of incompatibility, and it might not be a problem with the Terrible Fire. It could just be an incompatibility between the 030 and the chunky to planar stuff on these 2 games, on Wing Commander and on Gloom 3. Back over to the 030 now. I'll just show you, if we run this using the chunky to planar with an 030, this is what you get. See? So yeah, something strange going on there. The other thing we can do is we'll try and boot Gloom 3 again, and I think there's an option. You can actually not use the chunky to planar, and you can specify which CPU you've got, and it uses like a CPU library instead for the acceleration. So we can choose the 030 there, and hopefully that should at least work. So you're not going to be able to see this very well because of the interlace and it's really small text, but we can choose there 030, select OK, instead of what was set to, let's say, chunky to planar. I mean, it's still using chunky to planar, but it's doing it through the 030. So let's try and start a game. Yeah, that's working. To be fair, that's probably faster than it is using the Kiko anyway. But nevertheless, I thought I'd mention that. I wasn't looking for faults, and actually it's, like I say, it's probably going to be in the realms of software rather than it being a hardware fault, but yeah, that's working alright. So I managed to go full screen there by connecting a keyboard up and pressing a few keys to get the options. You can see it's a little bit slow, but obviously we can shrink that down. I'll show you in a minute. We'll just shrink it down a little bit and then it should be super playable. But yeah, trying to play this on an 020 is impossible actually. Take a lot of damage, don't they? Good God. So I reduced the screen size by 1 or 2 settings there. You know, it's like a couple away from the top, and you can see it runs super well actually. This default weapon is awful, doesn't hardly do any damage to them, and I'm dead already. It's developed by the legendary Mike Singleton. This actually, I don't think he's. I think he's no longer with us actually. Could be wrong. Yeah, I forgot how bad the controls are on this. You can absolutely spin around in the car. Yeah, the controls kind of make this a bit hard to play actually, if I'm honest. I'm trying to use like the mouse here and it's just like spinning out of control. But that could be an issue with the game, but you can see the frame rate is super fast. Yeah, if you're going to play this, go with the joystick. I mean, you can see how fast it is in terms of polygons, it's throwing them around. One of the things I remember going into the sea here. You can actually dive if you keep going off into the sea. I can't remember how you do it now. Oh, there we go. Go downwards. Can you see that? We're sort of looking at the sand up there now. As you look up a little bit. Move forward. So yeah, I remember swimming along a coast like this under here on the ST version, and I came across like a little hidden underwater facility where you could actually go into the little thing there and explore inside. It's amazing the detail in this game for considering how old it was. Come back to the surface there, let's come back down again. But yeah, the mouse control is awful. I can't see what I'm doing. Quick look at Star Glider. This is going to use some like vector graphics or something like that, I would assume. Interesting thing, Argonaut Software, they went on to develop the Super FX chip actually, and Starwing, you know, Star Fox. Yeah, strangely enough, the spacebar is the fire button. But nevertheless, you can see, you know, it's running really well. It's super fluid, but then again, that probably runs really well on the 500, I would imagine. I think the new 68Ks that were on here, those ones that were made in Japan or whatever they were, they run slightly cooler actually than this gold top, but this is one with a full MMU and everything, despite the fact I probably never used the MMU. I'm amazed at how quickly you can throw something together like this. And he's not just throwing it together in that sense, there's a lot of love goes into the design and there's a lot of attention to detail. It's seldom he makes any mistakes. You know, this is one of the first issues, I guess, where there's been a minor revision there. You know, we thought it was all okay and there's just been that minor revision to a trace, and I started to mod that. I've had to revert that for the moment. The reason being, I think I need to update the firmware on the CPLD here, but all of the versions that Stephen's currently released for this, I think he's got some of the new V3 PCBs and those being shipped out as we speak. Lots of people have bought them, no issues at all, perfect. So yeah, hats off to Stephen. He's an inspiration, he really is. I could only ever aspire to be, I don't know, 10% as smart as Stephen, really. How he can do what he does, I don't know, there's some magic involved somewhere. And before we close this video up, I don't know that you spotted, Stephen did an announcement video a few days ago, and he's working on and produced already the first prototype for an 060 Accelerator board here. I think he's going to target the CD32 first, and maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, the 1200. That would just be absolutely amazing. One of my comments I posted on his video was, I think I've died and gone to heaven. And I think that kind of sums it up. To get an 060 in a CD32 or a 1200 is amazing. I would sooner have one of those than a Vampire, but you know, the Vampire's a nice product. But personally, I'd rather go with original silicon, you know, in the form of an 030 or an 040 or an 060. And before I forget, these PCBs are produced by Supaduper. Actually, Supaduper assembled this one here and sent this to me. He did me a good deal on it. I think these are going to be sold for around the £130-ish mark. It might vary a little bit. So yeah, head over to AmiBay and have a word with Supaduper. Anyway, I do hope you found the video interesting. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.